Linkage-controlled front-end mountain bikes aren't anything new. They've been tried before, they're being tried now, and they'll be tried again. The talk after Sea Otter, though, was all about the Structure Cycleworks 1, a 150mm full suspension enduro bike controlled by linkage both front and rear. The looks obviously created some conversation, but engineer Lonnie Hull knew that ditching the standard telescoping fork would lend way to a few advantages. Hull wanted something different after he crashed a mountain bike due to excessive brake dive, got a concussion, and broke his collarbone. He wanted to find a way to minimize brake dive, displace suspension energy, and enhance the steering under forces from braking. Hull's background is in electrical vehicle design, engineering, and motorcycle racing. After about 3 years and a lot of time prototyping, he came up with the SCW1. When a telescoping fork is compressed, the bike's head angle can steepen by several degrees and put the rider's weight more forward on the bike. The wheelbase also shortens when a fork compresses, and the amount of trail decreases. When a linkage front end like the SCW1 is compressed, the head angle and amount of trail remain consistent, as does the wheelbase. It also rids the design of friction that's present in a telescoping fork created by seals, or the need for damper technology to balance small bump sensitivity, mid-stroke support, and a ramped end stroke. Instead, the front end has a leverage curve, just like other full suspension bikes have in the rear. With the SCW1 front end linkage, the bike sees what we'd call a rear shock controlling the front and rear suspension. So there are two separate rear shocks on it. Then, buyers also won't have to worry about fork maintenance. It does add a lot of additional bearings to worry about, but Structure says that they are pretty standard bearings available at most bike shops. They recommend replacing them at 250 hours and will cover bearings and frame for life on the original owner. Aside from the front end linkage, though, it's a pretty normal mountain bike as far as premium mountain bikes go. You get SRAM Eagle drivetrains, Shimano or Magura brakes, and a modern and sensible component selection. They are expensive, though. A frame set starts at $6,000. The Janus build is almost $9,000. And the Foundation series with carbon wheels and a SRAM XX1 Eagle is almost $11,000. Anyways, let's talk about how the bike rode. I grabbed it for an hour or so from the Structure booth at Sea Otter and tried to get out of the vendor area as quickly as possible. First thing I did, though, was the old parking lot bunny hop, and I could immediately tell that the SCW1 was going to be interesting. The suspension compression felt more even and balanced, and the rebound from the front end felt just a lot more natural. I pedaled the bike out of the Sea Otter craziness and up towards the trails over some paved paths and dirt roads, and then finally over to some single track. Sorry about all the road footage. It takes a little bit to get over to the trails. But pedaling the bike up and around, the SCW1 felt like a normal mountain bike. The geometry was modern and comfortable. The rear suspension is controlled by a horse link, so it's not revolutionary or anything. It's a fairly normal climber. It's not terribly efficient feeling either. One thing that I noticed on the front suspension was pedal bob in the front linkage, something I haven't really experienced on a telescoping fork in a while. And as you can see here, the linkage bobs and compresses with pedaling input. The steering is also limited by linkage hitting the down tube. This is probably only an issue for slopestyle athletes on the SCW1 though, and most of us that don't plan on tangling the bike over jumps probably shouldn't worry. So after an unimpressive climb to the top of a trail, I got ready to drop in on the SCW1. I wasn't quite sure what to expect, so I told myself I wouldn't go too fast. But even without a dialed-in tune, the SCW1 was so much fun and so fast right off the bat. Thanks, guys. I didn't have a lot of time descending, and I missed recording one of the segments. Whoops. But again, the SCW1 was fast, really confident, and really planted through the turns. It's easy to throw in the air and felt as natural, or even more so, than a lot of other bikes. The feel from the front end linkage is much different than the feel of a traditional mountain bike, and the small bump compliance is outstanding. Once I hit some of the bigger bumps at speed, though, the front wheel started to come back up at me and I had to slow down. I was about out of time at this point, so I turned around and headed back to the tent inside the venue. When I brought up the bucking feeling of the front end over high-speed, potholy bumps, this is what Lonnie Hull had to say.
So you want to hear a secret?
Yeah.
I had you set up in the most racy eccentric position.
Okay.
So it will buck up that way. It's really there to prevent you going OTV in that sort of situation.
Okay.
So it's on square edge bumps like that, like potholy stuff.
Yeah.
It would tend to buck up is a good term. If I put you into the most compliant setting, it should have rolled through there and felt a lot more playful, but it would have been less supportive and not absolutely kept you from OTB.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've got four different positions that we can hit with this eccentric here, and that makes all the difference. It's a range between 17% reduction in dive and 41% reduction in dive. And I had you at 41% reduction in dive.
Gotcha.
Which still leaves some compliance, as you said. You can still do a bit of a stoppie, but it will buck up.
So obviously this isn't a definitive review, just a few first impressions that I had from a quick ride on the bike. I didn't have time to tune it in that day, and there's a lot of adjustability on the SCW one. Like Hull said, putting the bike in the other mode sounds like it would have given me a smoother ride over big bumps. What most people are talking about when it comes to the SCW one though, they're mostly talking about its looks. Even the Trust Performance message linkage fork looks a lot more traditional than the SCW one. To me, it seems like there's a definite advantage to the Structure Cycleworks one over a telescoping fork, and there's some disadvantages too. Really, it just seems like a lot of work to get around the disadvantages of a telescoping fork, and the technology in telescoping forks is really good right now. Either way, the SCW one is worth a ride if you're interested in buying it or not. It is fast and it's fun, and you'll get off the bike with a huge smile. So thanks for watching the review. Head to singletracks.com for daily mountain bike news and information. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you on the trails.